So hello friends, Guyan here, and today I'm very excited in today's reaction because I am very excited to going back to my roots and going back to all of the dark stuff that I used to, love reacting. This one is usually for the Wayback Machine. Usually they love to store all the past, internet stuff that are unfortunately deleted nowadays, and it's kind of good, cool thing that there is a part of the internet, like a website that captures part of the internet before it was, deleted, or some websites that are stored before they are being deleted. And also friends, before I'm going to play this video, hopefully you can leave a subscribe to my YouTube channel because I am looking forward to getting 500 subscribers in this year. So thank you for all your support if you do that, and let's get right into the video.
In November 2011, a brand new account on YouTube would upload its first video. It would very quickly garner a large amount of views, amassing 142,000 in its first month on the platform.
Wow.
It was unusual.
I wish I had those type of viewers.
For a video from a new account with no following to get so many views so quickly back in this era of YouTube. But in this case, you can chalk it up to the bizarre and extraordinary nature of this clip. Its title being, "You have 30 days to pay me $5 million.
Otherwise, I'll upload the full version of this video to the web. Why?
The video starts with a first-person view of somebody messing with some crude electronics on a remote control car, eventually showing the audience that they attached a camera onto it.
Okay, why? Don't tell me he's spying on someone. For sure spying on someone. What is he doing?
The cameraman is now on a plane. We get a montage of his flight until we see that he appears to be landing in some sandy desert country.
Okay. Good thing is the music is non-copyrighted. Where is this? Seems like somewhere in Middle East. Maybe? Potentially Africa too, North Africa. It seems like the building is a little bit Arabic, I think, so I think it's somewhere in North Africa, I guess.
Once he gets into his room, he unpacks all his equipment, which we don't yet know just what he's planning to do with. He leaves the room, and we can see, judging on the cityscape, that he appears to be somewhere in the Middle East. He takes a motorbike and he starts driving through the palm tree laden streets.
Okay. It's pretty normal. That small ass phone.
We get another driving montage. This time though, our cameraman seems to go quite a bit of ways out of town, until the video fades to black before showing us just where he was traveling to all this time.
Okay. Oh.
The cameraman is in Egypt, right by the Great Pyramids.
Okay.
Somebody directs him to an opening in one of the walls. He messes with his bag, and we get a brief glimpse of the RC car snaking through the narrow tunnels of some presumably ancient underground structure, before the video once again fades to black for a final time. Before ending though, we're shown a URL, nowiknow.com. Visiting this page greets you with a countdown, telling the reader that unless the site's owner is paid $5 million by the time the counter hits 0, he will release the full video.
I'm pretty sure this is a scam, right? You don't pay a lot of money to that just to see these type of videos. Also, I've heard a lot of theft that has been going on, or grave robbers when it comes to ancient Egypt and stuff. There's actually a lot of people that smuggled all of these ancient artifacts because they're very valuable, especially in Egypt.
Apparently implying that the camera on that RC car filmed something remarkable in some forgotten passage in one of the pyramids. Interestingly enough, this website was localized into several different languages, and there were social media accounts linked here for just about every major platform at the time. Under both of these rows lays an email address, nameless@nowiknow.com. Judging by the general time period this was all put on the internet, the person behind this video and site might be implying that they discovered some earth-shattering revelation inside the pyramids. The late 2000s and early 2010s was when the show Ancient Aliens held a small slice of the pop culture zeitgeist, and the idea that ancient societies held extraordinary secrets hidden away by today's elites was a common thought in some people's minds. It's understandable
I used to believe that in the past, but now, nah.
why this
I don't believe in
spread
aliens.
so quickly. This sort of ancient alien conspiracy niche on YouTube was popular at the time, and it's not every day somebody uploads a first-person point-of-view travel vlog showing exactly how they brought a camera-rigged remote control car to the Great Pyramids in Egypt. Even if this was some sort of ARG, it was still a high-effort production.
Yeah.
Users on Reddit initially assumed that because of the slick nature of this whole thing that maybe it could be some sort of marketing campaign for a movie or TV show. But one Redditor noted that the domain information for the Now I Know website didn't line up with other such guerrilla marketing stunts. Nothing related to the domain led back to any sort of movie studio or any corporation at all. This was in all likelihood something produced by an individual. Maybe there really was something to this. Let's analyze this video. Judging the surroundings we see when the cameraman is traveling to the airport, he appears to be from some Eastern European country. And indeed, doing an image back search on a frame that shows the airport he flew out of reveals that he was departing from Kaliningrad in Russia. We can tell from one of the scenes on the plane that the person filming is indeed a man. We can also do an image back search to reveal that this guy was not actually landing in Cairo, but instead in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, which is about a 500-kilometer drive away from Cairo and the pyramids. This is going to be important in a second. Whenever our cameraman is outside in Egypt, he always appears to be in Sharm el-Sheikh. Nowhere in Cairo near the pyramids is quite as laid back as this, and every image back search I did on screen caps of the streets he's on always led back to Sharm el-Sheikh. He eventually gets on a motorcycle, drives out of town, and just sort of appears at the Giza pyramids. I don't buy for 1 second that this guy went on a 6-hour motorbike trip along the Suez Canal into Cairo. I did notice that outside Sharm el-Sheikh there was this weird artificial pyramid complex, but I don't think this is where our guy went. He did genuinely film himself at the Cairo pyramids, but what he
I think it usually didn't take in one go. I think he edit the video.
doesn't show us is his RC car. He implies that he pulls it out of his backpack and drives it through some tunnel, but
I'm pretty sure this is like a scam or something.
we never actually see it come out of his bag. The only time we see it in Egypt is when he uses it in his hotel room, which, judging by the wristband he's wearing and the logo on the balcony door, appears to be the Marmara Sabina Resort. By the way, notice how he takes the mirror off the wall before filming the RC car on the desk in the room. This guy went to great lengths to hide his identity. While people are speculating what the point of this video was, an important thing seemed to be absent from the conversation. Just who is this guy expecting to pay him $5 million? The way this is presented resembles a ransom situation, but what exactly is being held ransom? Is the Egyptian government gonna pay this guy to keep him quiet? We didn't have to wait long to answer that question. The timer on the website would eventually run out, and nobody paid our man, so he released a full video like he threatened to, which was via a download on his website that was quickly mirrored to LiveLeak.
Okay. This could easily be like edited in a way that is, that is fake or something.
As the video starts to glitch, the car eventually gets to a sharp incline. It hovers at the edge for a second, then starts to go down it, with the video wavering more and more the further it gets, eventually cutting out completely. We get a screen of text before the video closes out, telling us that OP failed to get more info on this, but something is going on down there, and he's not going to tell you the location of the tunnel either. This wasn't some elaborate ransom situation, high-effort scam, or guerrilla marketing campaign. It was most likely a hoax made for attention. Maybe it's a fun project some Russian guy did while on vacation at an Egyptian resort. In fact, there are bus excursions to the pyramids from Sharm el-Sheikh, which is where the bus footage we see probably comes from. This video would garner almost 500,000 views before it was mysteriously taken offline sometime in the mid-2010s, along with the website and all associated social media accounts.
Because I'm pretty sure this is just a scam. I think you just need to remove like videos like this that are like not even, they're not like true, I guess, or just hoax.
It was almost as if this guy just wanted to disappear from the internet. This might have been the end of the story, but luckily, it wasn't.
Ooh.
You see, it might have seemed like I was showing you screenshots of YouTube, Twitter, and this guy's website, but that's not entirely true. What I was actually showing you were archives of those pages. Weird copies downloaded and preserved forever by a foundation known as the Internet Archive.
Oh yeah.
Other than those two Reddit posts, the
Actually, I want to like support the Internet Archive.
sourced information and material for this video so far has exclusively been the Internet Archive. Their mission is to preserve as much of the internet in its current and past states as possible, an almost infinite library of what was and what is. They're a necessity for mine and countless other YouTubers' jobs, and an overall net good for the preservation of human culture. But have you ever stopped to think just what curiosities may lie in the darkest depths of this library?
It's the same as like libraries in the past too, like the libraries Alexandria. I kind of like wonder like what stories that have been burned unfortunately from those types that never been like ever read. Like almost there's also friends. I also like heard that movies are also like that 80% of the movies have been burned because in the past like the movies like black and white movies that you've seen now are unfortunately the 20% that have been left from the fire in the past.
What's been stowed away?
We really need to have like a very robust way to store our information.
Buried under mountains of archived Google searches and blog posts, tucked away from prying eyes until someone finally decides to summon it into their web browser.
Like I wish we have like a decentralized way to, I guess, store all these type of information,
Today, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna dive into this monolith world of archived content and twist it around until we see its dark side. Now I know it may have been a hoax, but the majority of what's to come in this video are real horrors that would have been lost if it wasn't for the Internet Archive.
Oh hell yeah.
As the World Wide Web was spreading around the globe in the mid-90s, internet enthusiasts were already busy planning how to best catalog it. In 1996, Brewster Kahle, an American tech entrepreneur, founded Alexa Internet, a for-profit web crawling service that would gather information on different websites and provide information on the overall state of the
It's
internet.
kind of weird too, friends. Like I think Jack the Ripper, like even I saw Motohar's video, like there are still like a lot of communities that still try to find the origin of that image from Jack the Ripper.
Like global
It's still not been found until today.
site rankings based on visitors and data use. You can think of Alexa Internet as a sort of digital version of Nielsen ratings, which would gather viewing data for different TV channels and programs. In the same year he founded Alexa Internet, Kahle would use the same web crawling technology to put together a non-profit web cataloging service, which he would simply call the Internet Archive.
Oh,
The
hell yeah.
idea was simple. Instead of just gathering data on web pages, the Internet Archive would instead copy the pages themselves and save them on its own servers. If an important web page ever went down for some reason, it could still be accessed just as it was through the Internet Archive. In the first 5 years of its existence, the Internet Archive would solely rely on Brewster's web crawling technology to archive pages. But in 2001, the foundation would introduce the Wayback Machine, a way for the public to not only easily browse these already extensive archives, but to also save websites themselves.
It always makes me wonder, like, who made the WikiLeaks website. That would be very interesting to also get a deep dive to in the future.
To the library, which greatly expanded the breadth of content you could retrieve using this service. There's really not much else to say. The mission is simple: preserve the internet just as it is and was for future generations to enjoy. Although I do want to bring up their headquarters, which is in this old Californian church, and it just looks so science fiction to me. The first thing anybody chooses to do when using the Wayback Machine is to
I didn't actually know that. That's actually kind of cool. Like their own, like, I guess, headquarters are in a church.
see what the platforms they use now used to look like way back in the day. I'd wager the first thing almost anybody did on this site was to enter in google.com to see what it looked like in the 90s and early 2000s. One thing you might not have noticed though, is that some of these big websites are using domain names that used to exist before the inception of the platforms you associate them with. Discord, for example, may have been launched in 2015, but the archives for discord.com go all the way back to 1996. It was originally a personal website, a self-hosted page on the internet that's essentially the antiquated equivalent of a social media profile, only existing to express the author's thoughts. Facebook.com in the 90s used to advertise some sort of employee indexing service for large corporations. X.com used to be another personal site. TikTok.com used to be a family blog. This one is a little different from the others. It's pretty detailed and well archived despite being 25 years old. There's a lot of information here. This family's activities and photos were essentially completely documented on the internet for many years. Back in the 90s, this wouldn't have been a very odd thing to do. The internet wasn't nearly as large as it is now, and you wouldn't feel like you were exposing your private life too much by documenting it online. At some point though, likely when the internet began to become much more prevalent in our daily lives, the TikTok family would take their site offline, and of course the domain name would eventually be sold to ByteDance. On Reddit though, one user would discover this long-lost family blog deep in the Wayback Machine's archives, and they would make a post about it on the Internet Mysteries.
I kind of always like thought like a lot of domains, especially in the past, would be bought into made like a new stuff in today's world.
Subreddit, a place dedicated to solving, well, internet mysteries. What's the mystery here, you might ask? I'm not actually sure. It was interesting that TikTok.com used to be a family blog, but I'm not sure if there is a mystery here. Regardless of that fact, Redditors will be quick to find one for themselves. The lost media culture of tracking down the origin to every minute detail of every piece of media created by man drove some of these Redditors to treat this family's private life as a lost media search that needed solving. A subreddit would be created to track these people down. They would find addresses, phone numbers, legal papers, court notices, private photos that weren't on the original website.
What?
Other users would be quick to label this so-called search as what it really was: stalking.
Yeah.
Gang stalking is a delusion that some people have where presumed targeted individuals think they're being stalked by a group of people. It's almost always some sort of paranoid fantasy concocted in somebody's head. But in the case of the original TikTok family, this was by all accounts an actual case of gang stalking, even if it was just a minor one. It goes without saying that not everything in life needs to be tracked down and uncovered in a public manner.
Yeah,
Some Redditors would argue that since this family hosted a site with some of their public information for a brief span of time in the 90s and early 2000s,
bullshit.
that it was not actually stalking, and they were entitled to know what they were up to now. Thankfully, this so-called search quickly died, and public opinion recently has been much more critical of its existence in the first place, but it goes to show you that sometimes this culture of internet mysteries that YouTubers like me directly contribute to can in some cases turn ugly. The TikTok family site is not the only blog we're going to talk about in this video. Blogs used to be much more common in the early internet than they are now. These days, people either write their brief thoughts on Twitter, or they have a Substack where they act like they're writing op-ed pieces for the New York Times. But 20 years ago, people would write blogs as a sort of public journal, detailing their views and experiences.
I always kind of wish to make my own type of website with my own type of server in the internet. I always like wish to have that, so that I can just make my own stuff, where I can just share my ideas. Like I have my little art, gallery in a way where I can share my own thoughts or blogs, or even like GitHub, type of codes too. Like I can share it there instead of like the GitHub, website.
In a long-form way that just doesn't really happen much anymore. The thoughts detailed in this blog we're about to talk about were unusual, and they preceded something very, very dark.
Oh, I'm here for the
If you
dark
go to
stuff.
the Wayback Machine and type in fifthnail.blogspot.com, you'll get a bunch of snapshots from the mid-2000s. Just like the
Fifth Nail?
URL suggests, this site is called The Fifth Nail, and it's a public journal written by a man named Joe, who lives in North Dakota.
Okay.
It starts in late 2003, and the first entry recounts how Joe found out that a 5-year-old girl had gone missing from a nearby town in Minnesota a few months prior. He was so worried about being falsely accused of kidnapping that he decided to look through his logs on Quicken, a personal finance software that can keep track of your budget and spending. He concludes that it would be impossible for him to be accused of any crime on that day because of the purchases he made, which were not done in Minnesota. He goes on to complain about the intensifying persecution of sex offenders and how he's writing this blog for his own safety, because it's just a matter of time before he gets falsely accused of a crime. Oh, and he compares himself to a southern black man. He finished the post by talking about what he ate that day and what he did, which was mostly playing the PC game Delta Force. We can already surmise from this first post that Joe is
I actually played this game in the past, like in a PC somewhere. Like it's so old, man. Like I miss this like graphics.
likely a registered sex offender, and indeed the next few posts seem to focus on the so-called persecution of his kind and the various ways people misunderstand him. He says there's no bad people in the world, just people who do bad things. He says that it's very hard for him to make friends and to meet women because most people stop talking to him once they learn about his past. As 2003
Obviously, like you're a dangerous person. Well, duh.
rolled into 2004, we get more details about Joe's life. He has cats, and he really likes playing Delta Force. He works in IT, and he watched Return of the King with his neighbor on New Year's Eve. In one long rambling post without paragraph breaks, he rants about the abuse he suffered as a child and tells us that a crime he committed when he was 16 led to him being put into an experimental treatment program at Western State Hospital in Washington State between the years of 1980 and 1982.
Okay, that is kind of sad and tragic. Like, majority of these type of people are also like, like they've been grown up to also been on this like environment that, fortunately do this type of crimes, but that still doesn't excuse you as a monster.
Which eventually got shut down due to numerous civil rights abuses. He mentions in a following post that he was in jail between the ages of 17 and 38 and outlined some disturbing things about children.
That is crazy, 38? Wow, that's so long.
And adults that I'm not going to repeat here. He continues to rant in following posts that he can't stop thinking about being accused of crimes he didn't commit. He buys a webcam that he can have permanently set up to record his living room in an effort to document his moves as closely as possible in the event he ever needs an alibi for a certain day.
I guess he was really afraid that he has been accused or been in prison for a very long time. So I guess this does make sense on why his behavior is like this.
He mentions the following week that he accidentally recorded himself naked with his webcam and had to quickly erase it, lest he be accused of being an exhibitionist. In following posts, he continues to repeat the same things about committing some mysterious crime when he was 16 and being thrown in a mental hospital. He also seems to keep close track of whenever people go missing in his area so he can verify that he has a solid alibi in the event the police knock on his door. The next week, he talks about enrolling in computer science classes in college, along with documenting and analyzing the various dreams he has. He also compares a law passed in Texas which would require sex offenders to be labeled to 1930s Germany when Jews had to wear armbands. This is the general gist of the blog. Joe talks about college, work, his cats, and the apparent perils of being a sex offender. Sometimes he would document every minute detail of a certain day, and other entries would just include some rambling about his thoughts on a particular topic. In mid-2004 though, things would begin to change a bit. In June, he starts to bring up hallucinations he's been having. He would wake up at night and hear and see strange things, and also the feelings of derealization he's been having, along with saying that he can't trust his own mind. In July, his worst fears about being accused of a crime are realized when he's charged with some unspecified felony. He stops posting for a month, and when he comes back, he outlines an incident where the police broke down his door and searched his home. Again, he doesn't post for 3 weeks. His only post in September is this.
I'm home Sunday afternoon, nothing to do. Everything being undone. Nobody to remind me. Life is about giving your choices over to God. Chicken pot pie in the oven. Why can others not see the unity of the universe? Why are they so blind in their dungeons?
His posts before may have been unhinged, but they start progressively getting more crazy. By the time 2005 rolls around, he starts having much more paranoid and religious delusions. The ramblings start making less and less sense as they go on. The blog would stop abruptly in May 2005, when he simply writes,
The demons have taken over.
In this post, he talks about how he used to be Happy Joe, but inside him was a boogeyman, or a demon. He assumed this dark passenger was gone, but it wasn't. It was just laying dormant, waiting for an opportunity to jump up and take Happy Joe's place. He concludes the post by saying,
Happy Joe was just dreaming, or pretending to be happy.
This blog on its own is strange and disturbing, but it's what would happen after that really turns this into a tragedy. On July 2nd, 2005, a man and a little girl would enter a Denny's restaurant in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The staff would do a double take at the little girl. They had seen her somewhere before. One of them would conclude that she greatly resembled a missing child that was being broadcast all over the media. Her name was Shasta Grun, and 7 weeks earlier, her family was discovered dead in their home by police. Both Shasta and her brother Dylan, however, were nowhere to be found. The police would rush to Denny's and take Shasta into custody, and they'd arrest the man who was with her, who happened to be named Joseph Duncan, or Joe for short.
Oh,
You see, just 5 days after writing a post saying the demons had taken over, Joseph would enter the Grun family home and kill everybody except for 2 children. He had not known them previously. They were chosen seemingly at random. He would take Shasta and Dylan, and they'd live for the next 47 days in various campsites in the woods. I'm not going to get into any gruesome details here, but Dylan unfortunately did not make it in time to be rescued. The particulars surrounding the Grun family murders and the kidnapping of these 2 children are some of the most horrible things I've ever read. I'm not kidding. Please don't look too much into this, it's truly not worth knowing. After
Yikes.
Duncan was arrested, the FBI would launch a nationwide review of unsolved missing children cases, and Joe would be indicted on several other murders which had occurred in the 1990s. He was put on
It is pretty interesting and fascinating. Like a lot of murderers always try to post all of their minds, I guess. They're trying to like I don't know what they're doing. Like they always like post outside their like stuff that they wanted to do or things that gone crazy within their mind. Like I also this seems to be like a very common pattern because I also saw this a lot when it comes to like watching like all the murders that been happening or like some disturbing stuff. It's very very interesting why this happened. Like they always try to I guess this is a way for them to embolden themselves to do the dark acts that they're trying to do or try to project these things to hopefully not do the things that they wanted to do. I don't know. There's maybe a very interesting psychology there.
death row for his crimes, but would die of a brain tumor in 2021 before he could fulfill his sentence. At some point during
Oh, he has a very interesting brain tumor.
his
Huh.
trials, people would eventually find Duncan's blog, and they'd leave their honest thoughts about him in the comments section, which would prompt Joe to just delete the whole thing. This blog might not have been much on its own, but knowing the horrible things this author had done and would go on to do gives it an awful significance as a detailed look into the head of one of the most depraved and evil people to ever walk this earth, and it's one of the most terrifying sights I've stumbled across on the internet, one that would have been lost to time had it not been for the Internet Archive. The fifth nail is definitely one of the darker things I've covered on this
Wow.
channel, so this next topic might be somewhat of a short palate cleanser. Somewhat. Compared to the fifth nail, Joseph Duncan, just about anything is a palate cleanser, even an early internet mystery that happens to focus on a pretty twisted concept.
Huh.
In
Interesting.
early 2025, a user on the Internet Mystery subreddit would make a post about a site called E-Cuerpos, Spanish for E-Bodies. They say that around 20 years ago, a friend had told them about the site. Their friend
Interesting.
described it as a sort of marketplace for human cadaver parts.
Oh,
OP
what
didn't
the
want to
fuck?
have anything to do with such a website, so they just ignored their friend, but
This is a palate cleanser?
the idea in the back of their mind ever since. Until now. They decide to load up the Wayback Machine, type in the URL, and sure enough, there were snapshots that lined up with when OP
Ooh.
had first heard
It's still kind of crazy. Like a lot of people still do some snapshot like this. I don't know if this is like manual snapshots or automatic snapshots where people, snapshot the, URL in this case.
about the site. Everything here is in Spanish, but both English and Portuguese translations are offered and have
Okay.
luckily been preserved. The page is exactly as OP's friend described it, a marketplace for human body parts. A female left arm is $2,600, a male ear is $1,900, and if you're willing to dish out a lot of cash, you can even purchase a full human body for just under $200,000.
The fuck?
Each listing is accompanied by pictures of what's being sold
At least that's $500 or $1,000. Come on, man.
and a 5-star rating. They offer information about the deceased person's age, along with their race and continent of origin. If we navigate over to the company page, we learn that E-Cuerpos has been serving the South American market since 1994. You might be thinking that this is screaming hoax, but you should keep in mind that the human cadaver market is very real. We talked
Yeah.
about it at length in my Horrors on the Chinese Internet video.
I actually learned this from the American side too. Like I have been watching Johnny Harris. He actually go in depth when it comes to like cadavers and like bodies and stuff, like how they sell all this, especially from the dark market, and especially for students too, to learn like real life bodies. Like they basically some of them steal bodies, some of them like donate the bodies to like people who need help, but some of the bodies parts are actually like, just go into the dark market or even tested for military purposes. It's actually very interesting.
There's a large gray market out there for human body parts to be used for medical study and other less noble purposes. It's also important to remember that the early internet was not quite as lawful and well policed as the web is nowadays. You didn't have to use something like the dark web to find a drug marketplace or illegal content.
Yeah, and here in the even today, like, there's still like a lot of people still like doing legal stuff, especially in the surface web. Like it's still not regulated as before. Actually,
You could
we're still living in the wild west of the internet.
readily use this web. E-Cuerpos promises to protect the privacy of their clients, who tend to be scientists and so-called human body enthusiasts. On their FAQ page, they mention that buyers should keep in mind the laws in their own country surrounding organ trafficking. If we look up black market cadaver hotspots in the mid-2000s, we can find a list that mentions Colombia as a global supplier of illegally obtained
Oh, interesting. My country is actually part of this. See here, Philippines. Interesting. PAC is allowed international sharing of organ tissues with official Philippine organ donation. Interesting.
human body parts. They
I guess my country is part of it.
specifically say in this article that there are several Colombian-hosted websites that offer human body parts for sale. Could this be one of them that just so happen to be captured and preserved on the Wayback Machine? Let's keep digging. You'll notice that at the top of the page here is a link to another website called calresco.org. This site actually still exists in almost the exact same form as it did all the way back in 2005.
Okay.
The page appears to center around the concept of complex systems in science. It's a little hard to understand, but it seems to be talking about systems that have many different components that interact with each other to form a sort of organized chaos. The economy is a good example of a complex system. It's easy to understand on a very small scale, but when it's all put together, it becomes this huge writhing interconnected.
Yeah, like it's so randomized. Like I even was shocked. Like even until today, friends. Like I was even like shocked. I felt like the market will always just go up. Stocks will always go up. There's actually a time where it can go down, and nobody actually knows what will happen in the future about the market because of the situation and politics and stuff, and like people who are been investing, retail investors. Like there's a lot of I guess many components and details that goes into the market where the price is actually so random. It's actually very interesting and beautiful in a way.
Mess. I'm not actually sure what this site has to do with Equitbos. There's no mention.
Also, I learned that because I tried to learn about like value investing and stuff. Just investing for the long run and hopefully having safe money and stuff. It's really very interesting and very cool to learn about sociology and stuff, like how the market works and politics works in the global politics and stuff. It's actually very interesting and very complex. I love
It anywhere here. If this was a hoax, I feel like this would be an intentional red herring. There's not really much else we can talk about concerning the site itself, so why don't we see what the internet users of 2005 had to say about it. On the site hoaxes.org, an early internet platform dedicated to exposing the many hoaxes of the old web, one commenter mentions Equitbos on an unrelated post.
Ew. I just tried ordering an eyeball from Equitbos. The e-commerce functions don't work.
Huh, that's weird. I wonder why that is. Yeah, this was all a hoax. It was made to promote a mobile phone web show made by MTV in 2005. One that's about a couple of students trying to perform a successful human head transplant, but that's not actually where the story ends. You see, one thing we haven't talked about are the pictures on Equitbos. They're likely showing actual dead bodies, specifically ones that are in a state of pallor mortis, the first stage of death that occurs for people with light skin. It's a specific kind of paleness that occurs in the first 2 hours after death. These images weren't taken from somewhere else on the web, at least nowhere that exists anymore. It's a little dark to think that a major American broadcast network found pictures of people who just died to put up on the internet. If that wasn't bad enough, we can return to the Wayback Machine where we can navigate over to the URLs tab. This section shows all the different addresses that have been preserved by the Internet Archive for a given site. Here we can see all the different pages we've already visited, but also some hidden ones that are not actually listed anywhere on the site.
Amateur.html.
Where did they get all of those type of URL?
Blonde. Drunk. Teen.
It gets much worse than this. We don't really have to go over every one.
Oh shit.
Now these snapshots always seem to result in 403 forbidden pages. While it might seem like these addresses did exist at one point in time, and it is absolutely possible, these also could have been the result of someone trying to hack into the server hosting this website. One technique to do this is to query as many different page URLs as possible to see which pages exist on a website that just aren't linked to anywhere. You can gain useful information from doing this. For example, we can see an Apache test page on this legal.html URL which tells us that the server is running Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We've gained some knowledge about the system
Linux
hosting this site that we weren't supposed to have. While this is a fairly common penetration testing technique, it doesn't explain why these pages are archived in the Wayback Machine. Either somebody in the mid-2000s went and manually entered a bunch of questionable non-existent URLs into the Wayback Machine, or the Internet Archive web crawlers were picking up on some very concerning stuff coming from an MTV web server. Either way, this is still a solved internet mystery, just one that has a few dark questions still attached to it. Okay, is your palate feeling cleansed now? Good, because we're about to uncleanse it. Equitbos was not the only early internet site archived in the Wayback Machine claiming to give users access to a human body.
Oh shit.
Like I said earlier, the Web 1.0 era of the internet was a lot less policed and much more chaotic than the sanitized major platforms we're used to seeing now. Instead of posting content to an existing platform, people would usually make their own websites from scratch and host them themselves. Instead of using a search engine, people would use their sites to link to other people's sites, making the internet in this era a true network of interconnected pages. One such page of links happens to be a now defunct.
It's almost kind of like the wiki, if you kind of think of it. It's like branching types of links of, ideas and stuff.
Site called necrobabes.org. This 2001 site describes itself as erotic horror for adults, and on its main page you can find many different sub-sites created by the different Necrobabes administrators. The content here seems to range from creative writing and gothic art to more risque content. The term erotic horror may bring to mind sleazy 80s slasher movies, but a lot of the stuff on Necrobabes happens to be much more twisted than that. A lot of these sites are dedicated to dark fetishes, like asphyxiation or pretending to be a dead body. Some of these sites sell VHS tapes. Some of them are just personal pages hosted by the people involved in this strange community. One Necrobabe site in particular, though, will become infamous for a very depraved reason: the Cannibal Cafe. On this site, you can find a gallery of extreme images depicting some of
I still don't understand, like, people have this type of things, man. This should be shamed.
the bizarre interests common on these Necrobabe
People say that you shouldn't shame kings. This should be shamed.
sites. You can also find a page where you can apply to be somebody's livestock, and another page called Impalement FAQ that I'm not going to show you almost any of because it focuses on a concept called
Thank you.
consensual barbecuing. This is all obviously pretty depraved, but that's not really what we need to focus on. The important thing here is the Cannibal Cafe message board. This is a forum for people who partake in these interests. People on this forum either write posts searching for so-called human livestock, or they write advertising themselves as such, like this post.
I kind of also heard about the Epstein files when it comes to this too. There are ways for them to eat the bodies. I guess they're talking about jerky and stuff. That's an insinuation about it, but there's still no hard evidence by that. But I won't be surprised if they're unfortunately, burying the bodies of their victims somewhere out there. Then I hope they can be found right now so that they can be investigated, and hope that all of those people who have been associated by the Epstein files, by Epstein in this case, will get arrested and really get justice from this bullshit, man.
Male for sale. I would like to be impaled and barbecued. I need tenderizing first and gilding. Would like to be roasted alive.
These posts are absurd to the point of being funny. The idea that somebody would be interested in stuff like this just seems too ridiculous to be serious. Yeah, maybe some of these posts are indeed just kind of taking the piss, but there is a very real darkness hidden away in this archive.
For sure, we're going to talk about the German stuff. There is actually this happened where, a German person who, two of them, they're both actually couples, I guess. One actually consented to be chopped up, and the one actually consented for him to eat his body. And that happened. So, yeah. It's actually very, very weird. But I don't know if we're going to talk it here. Let's actually...
Slaughter Boy wanted.
Oh, this is...
Are you between 18 and 25 years old, normal build, and healthy? If it is your desire to put an end to your life, but you want something more reasonable to become of you, then come to me. I will slaughter you and turn your body into delicious schnitzels and steaks.
This was posted by user Frankie on February 22nd.
Oh, okay, so this is the story about that person, okay. So it is in Germany, so let's actually hear
in 2002. It's a very typical post on this forum. The unusual aspect to this post, though, was that
I hear this story because, in the past, I also love watching dark stuff. So I already hear this story, but I don't know the details about what happened, so I didn't even know that this is from the origin of the Wayback Machine too.
Somebody would indeed take Frankie up on his offer.
Dear Frankie, I have been looking for an experienced butcher for a long time.
Oftentimes, discussions like this don't make the transition from internet into real life. They're just role-playing and fantasy. This situation was different. Only 6 days after the interested party responded to his ad, Frankie would schedule a meetup with him. They both happened to be German. Frankie in real life was named Armin Moose, and the respondent to the ad was named Bernd Brandes. They met in a train station in the city of Kassel, and together they headed back to Armin's place. They cuddled for several hours before deciding to act out what they had discussed on the internet. Bernd had very specific wishes of what he wanted to have done to him. He wanted Armin to start with his reproductive organs, so he did, but he couldn't manage to physically complete the act with his teeth alone. Armin then went to a nearby pharmacy and picked up sleeping pills, cough syrup, and alcohol to give to his partner. Upon returning, he decided to use a knife to finish what he had started. Brandes then wanted Armin
And he cooked the another region too, so, and eat it. So that's how disgusting this
to
goes.
cook what he had cut off so they could both eat it
So yeah, when I was a teenager, this was the stuff that I've been looking for. That I'm not looking forward to this one, of course. Like these were the, when in my teenage years, in my high school years too, these were the stuff that I've been like watching, man. Like all the darks and his stories and stuff like this. This were the piece of cake, man. Like I still remember it till this day. And either this or the I think it was the Two Girls One Cup. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, like how the internet was back in the day. There's actually one thing that I actually didn't hear of. It's actually about a person who died because he've been, I guess, have sex by a horse. So he actually died by getting having sex by a horse. So that's also kind of crazy. I never heard of that. I never even see it. But this was the thing that I did hear, and the Two Girls One Cup thing. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. how crazy I'm also normal in today's world.
together,
So yeah.
but Moose accidentally burnt the meat and it was inedible. He then helped the now severely injured Bernd into the bath, where he lay slowly losing blood. He then got into Armin's bed, where the combination of low blood pressure and the cocktail medications he had taken had him hallucinating and drifting in and out of consciousness. They made plans about what part they would cut off and eat tomorrow, but before that could come to fruition, Bernd would take his last breath. Armin wasn't quite done yet though. He divided the body of his now deceased partner and put it in his freezer, where he would periodically take a piece out and cook it like any other cut of meat. He would continue doing this for 10 months. Armin would eventually be arrested after another user of the Cannibal Cafe forum would report his post to the police, and they found the remaining pieces of Bernd's body after searching his property. Police would also learn that Brandes wasn't the only man Armin had met on the Cannibal Cafe forum. Between 2001 and 2000,
I didn't actually hear this. I didn't, because this is the only thing that I heard of. Like he has been captured, and that's basically what I've lastly learned about this or hear about the story.
2002, Armin had arranged up to 40 so-called slaughter meetings with young men, but the only person he met that was willing to go all the way was Bernd Brandes. The consent Armin received to play out this horrible act was a confusing...
This is actually very interesting too, because the law in them, like how do you even like prosecute a person who have been consented to, kill themselves or being killed by someone? So this is like a very interesting law, I guess.
None of this happened under any sort of coercion, and the victim had been a willing participant in all stages of the...
They just consented to do this. It's actually weird, but still, this is illegal, of course.
Brandes, though, had taken mind-altering doses of different medications, which may have impaired his ability to consent, and on top of that, killing is never legal even if the victim wants it.
Yeah.
Armin Moose would eventually be convicted of manslaughter in 2004, but 2 years later in 2006, he would be retried and found guilty of murder, being sentenced to life in prison. The most disturbing thing about this story is that from the time Bernd and Armin initially got home to the time Brandes ultimately passed, Armin had a camera set up in the corner and had been filming everything. This videotape was the key piece of evidence that would lead to Armin's charges being escalated from manslaughter to murder, and is likely one of the most disturbing pieces of lost media to exist.
Wow.
After Armin was arrested and word spread quickly about the website, the Cannibal Cafe forum would close its doors and would ultimately go offline for good in 2003. If it wasn't for the Internet Archive, we never would have gotten this eerie look into one of the most depraved sagas to come from the early internet.
Crazy.
The Internet Archive has been instrumental in not only preserving these important and disturbing parts of internet history, but also for solving lost media cases. You might remember when they found the location of the backrooms. So
this one, the backrooms. I love the backrooms, man. I love the games of the backrooms. I love the art of the backrooms too. Like I love this like nostalgia stuff where everything is just so randomized. I love the vibes on it, and I also love the mysterious stuff about it. But I guess this like area has been found until today. I think it's from somewhere in America actually. So, and now it has been changed into some kind of bowling alley. So it's actually very fascinating.
Photo back in 2024. That was only because the original site that hosted the photo all the way back in 2004 just so happened to be archived on the Wayback Machine. Our last case for today happens.
I didn't know that was actually in the past, so that image was very, very old.
To focus on a similar lost media hunt.
Oh.
The YouTube channel Watch Data is known for producing this very particular format of infographic videos. They're all presented the exact same way. A sliding chart will be shown detailing where certain entries land on the spectrum of a certain topic, like human evolution timeline, which shows the different types of humans in order of oldest to newest. Every video is pretty much exactly like this. This channel probably just has a premiere template they throw different visual assets onto and can make videos in like 5 minutes. One of Watch Data's uploads happens to focus on a topic that's pretty familiar to me and viewers of my channel: YouTube's creepiest videos. Well, you might assume the sliding scale
I don't actually, don't have me scared. I know that. Creeper on my apartment, I don't know that.
here might
Elisa Lam was actually crazy. Like, I didn't. Elisa Lam, that I actually know that she's been found in the tank. It's kind of weird, like she's been like missing. Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy, like how she even end up in the water tank above the building. She was just acting a little bit crazy in the elevator too.
be something like least to most creepy.
Ice cream baby, I didn't know about that.
It's not actually that. It's showing you videos in order of most
Username 66, I know that. That's from YouTube.
views
Or is it? A gory screen recording of a cursed version of... Okay, so it's a Microsoft stuff. Okay.
to fewest views. This is an interesting way to present this
I don't know about Angel. I know about Tara the android. I feel fantastic. That's my favorite one.
topic. It makes you want
Patient Stalker video too. I don't know those. I also don't know about
to
Angel.
watch to the end to see which video has the least views. All the standard creepy YouTube fares here, like
Oh, very interesting. Like I guess the YouTuber in this case, like tried to, I guess, compile all the videos to the most famous, dark and disturbing stuff or creepy stuff to the least like view stuff. I actually love that. I don't know about the shaving cream
salad
torture.
fingers. I feel fantastic. Little
I think I saw Sewer Monster in the past.
baby's ice cream. You've likely heard of most of these already, but things get more interesting when we get
Ghost from the Japanese subway. I don't know
to
this.
the end and we start seeing
I haven't been knowing all of this like mystery
the
stuff.
less viewed videos. And in fact, the last entry on this list has a mere 77 views. It's called Play 2 and was supposedly uploaded by a channel known as Mother8538. While we don't see the video itself, we do see the thumbnail, which shows a hand holding a lighter.
Okay.
If you search Mother8338 Play 2 on YouTube, you won't see the video from the watch data list. You'll only find other videos talking
Actually, I love that. I would love to like see the watch data clip.
about it, all of which inform the viewer that Play 2 is considered to be lost media. Redditors will be quick to try to solve this mystery. One user was able to find an Internet Archive snapshot of Mother8538's channel page. Now the video
Okay.
links present here have been archived and neither has any thumbnail, but we can see that Play 2 did indeed exist.
It's kind of crazy, like how they even find out with only 77 views.
The other videos from the channel also just have one word as the title, like punish, think, and wait. If you try to take the channel URL from the Wayback Machine and visit it on live YouTube, you'll simply be told that the channel does not exist.
Okay, interesting.
This might sound like a dead end, and it likely is. A video with 77 views being taken off of YouTube is going to be next to impossible to find. It would be incredibly unlikely that somebody just so happened to archive it or mirror it anywhere.
Yeah.
That wouldn't stop the lost media search though. A subreddit would be created, and the hunt would continue. As you can imagine, in a case like this, just about everything found so far has been false leads. People show
Okay.
up with wild claims that never actually lead anywhere. Some users are trying to identify the carpet shown in the thumbnail, others are passing off recreations as the original video. For some reason, many people have come forward to claim they saw Play 2 before it was taken off of YouTube, which is a little hard to believe considering just how obscure this video is.
Yeah.
The Chinese internet would also get involved, with the community surrounding the case
Ooh,
being formed
That's actually very interesting. Like even the Chinese have been getting into this. Crazy.
on Billy
It's gone international.
Billy, the Chinese equivalent to YouTube. Here, people would add on to the Play 2 lore by uploading what they claim to be the other videos from Mother8538's channel. Now these are able to be verified because we know next to nothing about the actual content of these now lost videos,
Yeah.
but that wouldn't stop people from treating them as if they're real. One user suggested tracking down every viewer of Play 2 to interview them about the clip's content. And here is where I ask, what is the point of all this? This is one of those lost media cases where you can easily argue that the work in question has been fully lost. Even if we generously assume that 5% of the 300,000 watch data viewers actually went and searched for Play 2 on YouTube, that would only give this video 15,000 views before being taken offline. The likelihood that somebody saved it even with that many views is very low.
Yeah.
I have videos with view counts like this that have never been mirrored, and I have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Mother8538 had
If it were too disturbing too, I'm pretty sure there's at least some of the people, already download those stuff.
23. This video is almost certainly gone from the internet. It wasn't even that interesting to begin with. Do you think the watch data researchers went to great lengths to find an amazingly creepy video that only had 77 views? I find that pretty unlikely, considering the effort they put into the rest of the research. Like that Mumtaz Begum video only being listed with 3,000 views, despite the multiple mirrors of this video that exist on YouTube which have garnered millions of views each. One video near play 2 in the list only had 600 views. This one just shows a woman crying for 2 minutes. There's nothing particularly unsettling about it. She just seems sad.
Oh, yeah. Also very interesting art in the background, by the way.
Another video has 400 views, and it's just a mundane Urbex clip that clearly wasn't intended to be scary in any way.
It's like some old ass shit right here, dude. Fucking badass.
Man, this really makes me like my memory going back to the video of the Chinese, person who explored this abandoned building, like full of skeletons. Actually, it's actually very dark. There's also like a lot of acid bottles that he has been found. But yeah, it's actually very fascinating. Like, it makes me wonder if there are like bodies there that have been dumped and poured into acid and stuff. But it's happening on China, so we don't actually know what happened there. I think there's even like a conclusion. I think it's from Nick Crowley's video where it does conclude that maybe it's some kind of organ harvesting stuff. So yeah, it's pretty dark.
Some scrap metal.
For all we know, the Mother8538 video could have just been somebody flicking a lighter. We have no reason to think this video is interesting or holds any sort of significance. So why go to such efforts to find it? Lost media can be really interesting when the work at hand is important in some way or is just considered to be
Hey, I guess this is not that dark after all.
worth experiencing. But why spend energy looking for a completely random, likely uninteresting video that nobody ever saw? This isn't a photo that greatly shaped internet culture or a Lost Beatles song. It's a 20-second video that nobody watched. If you enjoy looking for an inconsequential needle in a haystack, be my guest. It's not my place to tell you what to enjoy or not enjoy, and I'm not gonna judge you, but I don't personally understand the appeal.
I guess people are really encouraged by their curiosity to find something that for sure will never be found ever again, or especially like there's nothing interesting about that type of videos.
Guys, thanks for watching. I usually like to plug my Patreon, but if you want to throw some money around today, maybe consider donating to the Internet Archive. They make my job possible and are constantly fighting an uphill battle to keep the internet free and open. I'm sure they could use the support. And last but not least, have a good night.
Oh, hell yeah. What a beautiful video, actually. Like, I'm very interested to going forward on the stuff that he'll be uploading in the future. Because I'm actually very interested of seeing more of the dark stuff, especially like dark web. Maybe on Facebook, like there's still some dark stuff that going on under there. Maybe on YouTube too, like I've been seeing, Nick Crowley and stuff, and all the dark stuff that on the internet or either in the YouTube channel too. So those are very, very interesting for me to also watch, or even on Reddit too, So yeah, be sure to keep subscribed, friends, if you want to check that more, or anything other than that. I guess I would also very much interested of exploring stuff. So yeah, friends, man, not actually that dark, well, except the beginning of the video is very, very dark, and over time I guess the video didn't go into anything that so dark. It's just very funny sometimes. Some of them are very funny. So yeah, friends, thank you for watching the video, and good morning. It's still 11 actually, so good morning, friends.